The council convened in the Queen's apartments within Maegor's holdfast. Many accounts have come down to us of what was said and done that night. By far the most detailed and authoritative of them is Grand Maester Munkin's The Dance of the Dragons, a true telling. Though Munkin's exhaustive history was not written until a generation later, and drew on many different sorts of materials, including Maester's Chronicles, memoirs, stewards' records, and interviews with 147 surviving witnesses to the great events of these times, his account of the inner workings of the court relies upon the confessions of Grand Maester Orwyle, as set down before his execution. Unlike Mushroom and Septon Eustace, whose versions derive from rumours, hearsay, and family legend, the Grand Maester was present at the meeting and took part in the council's deliberations and decisions, though it must be recognised that at the time he wrote, Orwyle was most anxious to show himself in a favourable light and absolve himself of any blame for what was to follow. Munkin's true telling therefore paints his predecessor in perhaps too favourable a light. Gathering in the Queen's chambers as the body of her Lord husband grew cold above her, were Queen Alicent herself, her father, Sir Otto Hightower, Hand of the King, Sir Crispin Cole, Lord Commander of the King's Guard, Grand Maester Orwyle, Lord Lyman Beesbury, Master of Coin and a man of 80, Sir Tynand Lannister, Master of Ships, brother to the Lord of Casterly Rock, Larys Strong, called Larys Clubfoot, Lord of Harrenhal, Master of Whispers, and Lord Jasper Wilde, called Ironrod, Master of Laws. Grand Maester Munkin dubs this gathering as the Green Council in his true telling. Grand Maester Orwyle opened the meeting by reviewing the customary tasks and procedures required at the death of King. He said, Septon Eustace should be summoned to perform the last rites and pray for the King's soul. A raven must needs be sent to Dragonstone at once to inform Princess Rhaenyra of her father's passing. Mayhaps Her Grace the Queen would care to write the message so as to soften these sad tidings with some words of condolence. The bells are always rung to announce the death of a king. Someone should see to that, and of course we must begin to make our preparations for Queen Rhaenyra's coronation. Sir Otto Hightower cut him off. All this must needs wait, he declared, until the question of succession is settled. As the king's hand, he was empowered to speak with the king's voice, even to sit the Iron Throne in the king's absence. Viserys had granted him the authority to rule over the 7 kingdoms, and, until such a time as our new king is crowned, that rule would continue. Until our new queen is crowned, someone said. In Grand Maester Munkin's account, the words are Orwyle's, spoken softly, no more than a quibble. But Mushroom and Septon Eustace insist it was Lord Beesbury who spoke up, and in a waspish tone. King, insisted Queen Alicent, the Iron Throne, by rights, must pass to His Grace's eldest true-born son. The discussion that followed lasted nigh unto dawn, Grand Maester Munkin tells us. Mushroom and Septon Eustace concur. In their accounts, only Lord Beesbury spoke on behalf of Princess Rhaenyra. The ancient Master of Coin, who had served King Viserys for the majority of his reign, and his grandfather, Jaehaerys the Old King before him, reminded the council that Rhaenyra was older than her brothers and had more Targaryen blood, that the late king had chosen her as his successor, that he had repeatedly refused to alter the succession despite the pleadings of Queen Alicent and her greens, that hundreds of lords and landed knights had done obeisance to the princess in 105 AC and sworn solemn oaths to defend her rights. Grand Maester Orwyle's account differs only in that he puts many of these arguments into his own mouth rather than Beesbury's, but subsequent events suggest that was not so, as we shall see. But these words fell on ears made of stone. Sir Tyland pointed out that many of the lords who had sworn to defend the succession of Princess Rhaenyra were long dead. It had been 24 years, he said. I myself swore no such oath. I was a child at the time. Ironrod, the Master of Laws, cited the Great Council of 101 and the Old King's choice of Balon rather than Rhaenys in 92, then discoursed at length about Aegon the Conqueror and his sisters, and the hallowed Andal tradition, wherein the rights of the true-born son always came before the rights of a mere daughter. Sir Otto reminded them that Rhaenyra's husband was none other than Prince Daemon, and we all know that one's nature. Make no mistake, should Rhaenyra ever sit the Iron Throne, it will be Lord Fleabottom who rules us. The king consort is cruel and unforgiving as Maegor ever was. My own head will be the first cut off, I do not doubt, but your queen, my daughter, will soon follow. Queen Alicent echoed him. Nor will they spare my children, she declared. Aegon and his brothers are the king's true-born sons, with a better claim to the throne than her brood of bastards. Daemon will find some pretext to put them all to death, even Helena and her little ones. One of these strongs put out Aemon's eye, never forget. He was a boy, aye, but the boy is the father to the man, and bastards are monstrous by nature. Sir Criston Cole spoke up. Should the princess reign, he reminded them, Jacaerys Velaryon would rule after her. 7 save the realm if we seat a bastard on the Iron Throne. He spoke of Rhaenyra's wanton ways and the infamy of her husband. They will turn the Red Keep into a brothel. No man's daughter will be safe, nor any man's wife, even the boys. We know what Laenor was. It is not recorded that Larys Strong spoke a word during this debate, but that was not unusual. Though glib of tongue when need be, the Master of Whispers hoarded his words like a miser hoarding coins, preferring to listen rather than talk. If we do this, Grand Maester Orwyle cautioned the council according to the true telling, it must surely lead to war. The princess will not meekly stand aside, and she has dragons. And friends, Lord Beesbury declared, men of honour, who will not forget the vows they swore to her and her father. I am an old man, but not so old that I will sit here meekly whilst the likes of you plot to steal her crown. And so saying, he rose to go. As to what happened next, our sources differ. Grand Maester Orwyle tells us that Lord Beesbury was seized at the door by the command of Sir Otto Hightower and escorted to the dungeons. Confined to a black cell, he would in time perish of a chill whilst awaiting trial. Septon Eustace tells it elsewise. In his account, Sir Criston Cole forced Lord Beesbury back into his seat and opened his throat with a dagger. Mushroom charges Sir Criston with his lordship's death as well, but in his version, Cole grasped the old man by the back of his collar and flung him out of a window, to die impaled upon the iron spikes in the dry moat below. All 3 chronicles agree on one particular. The first blood shed in the Dance of the Dragons belonged to Lord Lyman Beesbury, Master of Coin and Lord Treasurer of the 7 Kingdoms. No further dissent was heard after the death of Lord Beesbury. The rest of the night was spent making plans for the new king's coronation. It must be done quickly, all agreed, and drawing up lists of possible allies and potential enemies, should Princess Rhaenyra refuse to accept King Aegon's ascension. With the princess in confinement on Dragonstone, about to give birth, Queen Alicent's Greens enjoyed an advantage. The longer Rhaenyra remained ignorant of the king's death, the slower she would be to move. Mayhaps the whore will die in childbirth, Queen Alicent is reported to have said, according to Mushroom. No ravens flew that night, no bells rang. Those servants who knew of the king's passing were sent to the dungeons. Sir Criston Cole was given the task of taking into custody such blacks as remained at court, those lords and knights who might be inclined to favour Princess Rhaenyra. Do them no violence unless they resist, Sir Otto Hightower commanded. Such men as bend the knee and swear fealty to King Aegon shall suffer no harm at our hands. And those who will not? Asked Grand Maester Orwyle. Are traitors, said Ironwood, and must die a traitor's death. Lord Larys Strong, Master of Whispers, then spoke for the first and only time.
"Let us be the first to swear,"
he said,
"lest there be traitors here amongst us."
Drawing his dagger, the clubfoot drew it across his palm.
"A blood oath,"
he urged,
"to bind us all together, brothers unto death."
And so each of the conspirators slashed their palms and clasped hands with one another, swearing brotherhood. Queen Alicent, alone amongst them, was excused from the oath on account of her womanhood.